Hello, hello. My name is Brittany.
And I'm Kate.
And we are
The Fools.
Join us as we explore everything spiritual, astrological, and overall mystical.
Don't forget to follow your intuition, but more importantly, follow us at The Fools. Welcome back to The Fools podcast.
We are so excited to have you here in the new year, 2022.
Wow, big things happening.
2022 better be my year because 2021 was not it.
And I think the astrologers are saying that 2022 is supposed to be better than 2021. So
I hope so. The only thing I keep seeing astrologers say is that February 2022 is going to be a big shift for America because it's the US's like Saturn return or Pluto return, one of those two. I think it's Pluto return, which is always brings on like big change. And frankly, we need some. So I'm excited.
I wonder if they can get Joe Manchin to pass that stuff and we can get some green energy happening.
I would love that.
Do some infrastructure. We can not only give all those tax breaks to the oil companies.
Give it to the regular Joes.
Give it to the freaking green energy people.
What?
Okay. I mean,
I wasn't going to say it, but me. Give it to me. Give me a tax break.
Exactly to my bank account. Direct deposit.
I take checks. I take cash
Routing
money.
Numbers.
Okay. But for real, guys, thank you for being here. This is our official first podcast into the year.
Yeah, so what a great place to start talking about
the moon.
Ooh. Which, I mean, the moon as aspects of
my
being
bitch.
Dark and mysterious.
But like sexy.
Oh, it's that divine feminine. Oh, we know.
We actually, fun fact, we almost named this podcast Moonchild Podcast. I think that was our first running name, which I still love, but The Fools is just so many innuendos that fit us because we're so funny.
Hilarious.
And we're beginners and everything spiritual. But anyway, yes, so the moon is just such a huge part of our life, especially if you're a woman, because it is huge feminine energy. And fun fact again, women are said to be run by the moon because we have a 28-day hormonal cycle that matches the moon, and men have a 24-hour hormonal cycle that matches the sun, which I just think is so freaking interesting.
Yeah, so I heard that, like, if you can be kind of in touch with yourself and figure out on, like, what days of those 28 days are you feeling your optimum self? And, like, when do you feel creative in that cycle? Like, you feel it, like, 2 weeks after your period? Or, like, do you feel it, like, right before? I feel shitty before. I don't know about you.
I feel like I'm going to die. But I also think, so what kind of sparked the idea for this podcast is I received this book for my birthday. It is Moonology, Working with Magic of Lunar Cycles by Yasmin Boland. And she really breaks down in a beginner-friendly way how to work with work with the moon and have its energy work in your life so that your manifestations are greater and just your overall life is easier. And she talks about figuring out where the daily moon is in your life, what horoscope it's in, and what house it sits in your chart. And I think that's really interesting as well. So if you notice, like, oh, I feel really good every time the moon is in Virgo. Super interesting because my moon's in Virgo. Like, these are little tidbits you can start to learn about yourself and how you connect with the universe, which is really fun.
And I'm a Cancer, so I'm ruled by the moon.
Moon baby.
Moon baby. And it's interesting, I visited Yasmin's website today, and in her daily astrology readings, she does not refer to us as Cancers. She refers to it as moon children.
Oh my God, I love that.
Isn't that sweet?
That's really nice.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I definitely feel the cycles emotionally, mostly emotionally.
Emotionally. Well, this is what's so interesting. So, the moon was kind of like a jump off point for me and a lot of people into spirituality, right? Like everyone knows, I think it's statistically proven. I don't have the statistic in front of me right now, but I think that police officers have said that there is far more crime and like crazy shit that happens on the full moon.
Well, my mom works in a hospital, and from her experiences, yeah, they know that like on a full moon, a lot more ER patients, and like, actually, Yasmin mentions in a podcast I listened to just today that she thinks because it really has to do with we don't teach people that like a full moon is like bubbling up of emotions for like a release situation. So like when you are having a full moon, it's healthy to just acknowledge that it's maybe a highly emotional time. And when people just have all that tension and they don't really realize it, like obviously it can manifest itself as like, you know, injuries or like, I don't know,
Fights,
weird health things.
like,
yeah, just like being at an emotionally fragile point is going to be like a little bit more breeding ground for some loopiness, some craziness, some like weird energy to happen. So full moons definitely are known to like
bring up stuff. And it's nice when you know that the full moon is coming, so it's like you can prep or have a little outlet like, oh, maybe I'm not a psycho, maybe it's the full moon. Like, you know, it's okay to give yourself a little bit of break and, you know, blame the universe. I think another thing I noticed a lot on TikTok, which kind of got me interested in the moon too, is the great debate about manifesting with the moon. So many people manifest with the full moon because the full moon is so beautiful. You look at it and you're like captured. And then when you charge your crystals or cleanse your crystals and make moon water, it's all under the full moon and you're charging that. So you would think that
things feel full.
Yeah,
bright.
that energy would be strong for manifesting. But it actually, according to Yasmin and a lot of other sources that I've been reading up on, the full moon actually isn't a great time to manifest, which I find so interesting. Because you would think it's the opposite, but it's just so overwhelming and there's such a churning of energy that your manifestation might not be able to take the strong root it needs to. So, but then again, in the back of your mind, no, the best time to manifest is always, you know, if you're feeling like you want to meditate on something, just do it. But this whole podcast episode is about aligning yourself with the moon and being conscious with it so that your manifestations come into fruition easier. But that doesn't mean like this is this way or the highway, you know,
and
never.
I think like if you think about just like on a very basic level what the moon is doing, what people like saw in the night sky before we ever had technology or anything, they were watching this cycle of like life and death. Like, and that is such like a thing we experience on Earth. Like everything is cyclical. Like life is a cycle. You die, you like live, you go into the dirt. Like there's just so many things happening that, and it's just such a literal bright interpretation of that in the sky. So that full moon is like that harvest season. It's like right before you like have a death to be reborn in that new moon for new beginnings. So I think that is when you just look at it and like what it's doing every month, you're like, oh, there's like a little story here.
Yes, it's such an easy way to like get in touch with how you can go towards your goals. So the full moon, I wrote down like some keywords: inner work, healing, shedding, and shifting. So, you know, something I found really interesting that she wrote in her book is the full moon is a great time to sit down and figure out what is holding you back. What anger are you holding on to, especially with people? Because this is, I don't know where this quote's from, but it's like when you hold on to anger, you're not poisoning the other person, you're only poisoning yourself. And that was something that was groundbreaking to me. And the full moon is a good time to be like, okay, what am I holding on to that's holding me back? And like let go of those things, shed that, take that bath, that self-healing time, set yourself up with some calming tea or something you know is just going to like put you in a state of calm to oppose the high energies of the universe.
Yeah.
I thought that was really...
That's a good point because I'm like a little crab and I hold on to things with my little claws. Like I'm like, oh, this resentment, I'll hold it in my shell. I will blow up later.
Yeah. I will think about this for the rest of my life.
I will harbor this resentment.
And it's like resentment towards others, resentment towards yourself. How many times are we our worst enemies or critics, like, you'll never be good enough to do this and blah, blah, blah. So I think the full moon, what I've been trying to do recently is sit down with a journal, jot out like some negative things that I've been feeling, and then practicing either crossing them out or writing on another piece of paper and burning them. Those type of shedding, letting go, not journeys, but like practices, I think can be really healing. And the full moon is great because you should be charging your crystals and cleansing them and making moon water, which moon water is a great way to also cleanse your crystals, cleanse yourself, cleanse your house. It's just supercharged water. That's like the best definition.
Put it in your bath. I think like put it in your plants, whatever. Like
drink it.
I like to put a little in my tea or coffee.
Yeah. Basically, moon water, they say it like helps shift the molecules of the water, which we've talked about this before. I think you found an article where it was like, if you whisper nice things to your water, it shifts their makeup,
energy,
which is insane. So I feel like it's hard to not work with those kinds of energies when you know they exist.
Yeah. I think being open to like this moon magic stuff is like definitely a great starting off point, because so many people, they learn about full moon rituals, or like maybe in themselves they feel like, oh, I feel a certain type of way around this time of the month. Let me explore that.
I always feel like I feel so energetic during the full moon. So I used to always manifest during it, like try to channel that energy. But instead, now I'm channeling the energy into like cleaning my space, cleaning my mind, that type of energy. And something I found was interesting, which you can go to the Moonology website, or there's different apps. Like I have one that's called It's Just a Phase. Oh. And it tells you what the daily moon is and what sign it is in. And then once you figure out the degree it's in, which another Instagram that me and Kate follow called Astro Forecast, she will post the degree the moon is in. You can probably Google it and figure it out. And then you can find that degree in your own chart. And you can figure out what house the full moon or new moon is sitting in and where you will be directly affected. So an example of that would be like your first house, which we know is the house of the self. And if you didn't know that, you should listen to our other episode with Raven, where she breaks down each house in zodiac sign, and planets. So like if you have the full moon sitting in your first house, then maybe you're having some like self issues where you're not happy with how you look, how you feel, how you're acting, these type of problems can come up, or it's a good time to take those and make them into journal prompts, which she gives in the book. But same with the new moon, if you figure out what house it's in or what sign it's in, you can use that energy to your advantage. So, okay, if you know the new moon is in your first house, maybe you can do something that's going to make your ego and yourself feel good, taking yourself out on a date, maybe getting a great haircut, those type of things, working with the energies. And if you know it's in Virgo, then you know to be like meticulous, detail-oriented. If you know it's in Cancer, to like tap into your emotions.
Well, that's the January full moon, y'all.
Is it?
Yeah.
The new moon is...
The next full moon is in Cancer.
It's in Cancer. I wonder what the first new moon... Do you know?
I thought Capricorn, but don't quote me on that. So I typically feel quite emotional around a full moon moment, and I will maybe even feel like slightly irrationally emotional, and then I'll have to I'll look at my watch and be like, oh, 2 days till it's a full moon. Like
you're picking fights with everyone and everything.
Yeah, I just get, or I'm just like, I don't know why I'm sad. I don't know why I'm feeling like upset or like easily triggered by like littler things. And I feel a little bit better around new moons. But now that I've been manifesting for the moon, with the moon for a minute now, I feel like I'm also starting to see that, different full moons make me feel different sort of ways.
Yeah.
And I mean, on top of other planetary transits that are happening, it is a really interesting way to just be like, wow, okay, I'm feeling this. And
this reflection. I always think about that Scorpio full moon when we like burned our journals and we're like really chaotic energy, and I feel like Scorpios are kind of known for that. And once I put two and two together, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. So you can either use the signs as like a reflection tool or a planning tool. So the new moon, January 2nd, is in Capricorn, you're right. And what is Capricorn? They're like structure, they're planning, they're
goal setting,
and that's perfect
ambition
for the new year. Literally perfect, which is on January 2nd.
January 2nd just really goes hand in hand. So I'm going big for the new moon. Like, I have these candles Luis brought me from Mexico. I'm like scribing in my candles. I'm lighting my candles. I'm putting my intentions out there. Like full on manifesting for 2020. Like, this is my big
I'm trying to think.
Moon altar.
I'm trying to think. So you're doing the 12 days of Christmas that we talked about last week. I'm doing that as well.
It'll be after.
Well, it'll be after. But what's interesting is our 13th wish is going to be left over in the time of the new moon. So I was like, okay, in the new moon, I'm really going to think about how I can work on that wish since it's my responsibility. But that's been a really fun kind of manifesting into the year.
We won't know which one it is, though.
Yeah, I know, but that's why. It's like as soon as you get it, it's like, all right. Well, no, I thought you're supposed to let them go.
Oh, I'm trying to let them go, I guess.
I need to let them go. I feel like I over focus.
I forgot what I wrote.
I didn't.
I'm like, honestly, I'm low-key worried I'm going to be left with, like, my really ambitious one of buying a cabin.
Yeah, something, like, really extreme.
I'm like, okay, well, this one was supposed to be for the universe.
I did write down my 13 wishes in a journal that I plan on not looking at until Christmas of 2022 so that I can see, like, what came about, which I'm hoping to be all of them. But, yeah, I think the new moon this year is a fucking doozy, you guys. It seems like so much is aligning.
It aligns great with the new year. Capricorn energy, like we're planning, we're setting goals high. And then when you thought you set them high, you set them even higher because Capricorn says like, that's all. And then you're like okay, well, actually, I guess maybe
more.
Maybe I'll double what I thought I said.
Exactly. So when it comes to new moon, the key words that Yasmin talks about is manifest, wish, beginnings. So every month when you feel like you're getting a little off track or lost in the sauce, as you know, the spiritual term I like to say.
All the gurus are using that one.
You know, lost in the sauce. The new moon is a reminder to be like, let's hone in and set new intentions or reset the intentions that you had last new moon that maybe, you know, got dissipated a bit. And come back to organization a little bit and be like, all right, this is a fresh start, new moon, no moon in the sky. Energy is clear so that I can put mine out there.
And it's like, I think if you're manifesting with the moon throughout the year, it's like there's really never a bad time to like start or write a new goal or do whatever you're doing. It's like you can join up whenever it feels good, come back, and that 28-day cycle is like enough time for things to actually happen in between. Like,
yeah, super forgiving.
To get a phone call, to get an email that's going to lead to that next job that you started that manifesting with. Like, that 28 days is like a good little time to like give yourself and then reassess. Because I know so many times we're like, did anything happen today?
Yeah.
Did anything happen today?
Yep.
Okay, am I in my dream yet? Is it now?
Has it? Where is it?
But like giving yourself a little time to actually do some of the action steps that you're setting up is, you know, it's helpful.
I also think...
And it's not too long for if you're not doing it to be like, okay, let me get back on track.
Yeah, like, oh, I let this slip up a little bit.
Yeah.
I also think what's really cool about the moon is I've heard people talk about like, oh, if there was a full moon in Scorpio, you set an intention and then you look and see what the next full moon in that sign is or new moon in that sign is. So sometimes it'll be like 6 months before the same moon is in the same sign. And then you can be like, oh, wow, like I forgot that this is what I did that day. But it's just another reflection that gives you even more time, but is also used as a reminder. Because I do think...
And So Yasmin, she made that book. She has oracle cards. She also has meditation cards. She also has this moon diary, which I think would be a great way to keep track of those like things, like Scorpio full moon and then a Scorpio new moon. Like you can flip back in your little moon diary and see like, okay, well, what did I write for that last Scorpio situation?
I do think to have like these type of tools to remind you is so important because the hustle and bustle of everyday life gets so overwhelming. But I also think that you mentioned earlier, it's okay if it lets go a little bit. I feel like the moon is so forgiving that anytime you catch on with it, there's something you can work on, because there's the new moon and the full moon, obviously, but then all the points in between are also extremely powerful and can help you in different ways. So if you ever feel like a little lost and you're like, oh, I want to get back on track with the moon in my life or whatever, and you feel discouraged because you noticed it's not a full moon or a new moon, because those are so, I don't know, they're like the big ones that everyone focuses on. Just know you can look at different moon phases and be like, okay, what does this one mean for me? Which, again, Yasmin like breaks them down. I wrote down the overall waxing is when the new moon is moving to a full moon, and waning is when the full moon goes to a new moon. So when the moon is waxing, when it's growing in the sky, you want to take action and grow with it. You want to commit to things. Obstacles arise, you work with them, adjust, refine yourself. And then opposite of that, when the full moon has come and all that chaotic energy is in the air and you're moving back to a new moon with an empty sky, it's a time of letting go, focus on gratitude, reflection, rest and renew. So just know, like, the moon is powerful at every state, even if the new moon and the full moon are more jazzier. They get the focus, but all of it's important.
Yeah, they all are like helpful in their own ways when you connect with them. And I think that also, so this is going to go out the day after, but still new moon energy, of course. But I think
it's
that,
like what you can do like a couple days before and after that, it's like still pretty powerful.
Exactly. And if you want to, before you do any new moon rituals, maybe like do a quick little release of some things, try to cleanse it out before you really like try to bring in those new things in that space. I think that's very cool. And like, you know, there's no set rules. You know, it's your own energy at work as well. So listening to what you need, like maybe you're like, wow, I have some heavy beliefs on my heart that I'm trying to get rid of before I even start like writing these manifesting things down. So let me identify those. Let me try to like do a physical release with like whether it's burning it, drowning it, I don't know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like go for it in your new moon ritual. It's like, you, like I said, you have a couple days while that energy is still
fresh. Don't feel like
I didn't do it on the second.
Yes, like, oh, I missed my one opportunity. I have to wait a whole month. Like, no, you're fine. I think there's also, we could talk about different things that we do during full moons and new moons. I love to take a bath and put either my moon water in that bath, or figure out like what essential oils or herbs or bubbles, whatever is going to make me feel good. Candles that represent that moon and that energy. I know you do a lot of candle work. I think taking a bath in alignment with the moon has been like one of my favorite things.
And I'm very for like aromatherapy. So also like if you just Google aromatherapy a little bit, maybe we'll do an episode on it. Different smells can also bring in like different essences. Yeah, like, or like of luck, of like healing, of, you know, renewal. So there's like working with your senses. I'm like fully on board for, you know?
Oh yeah, that's such a good point. Your senses. I think another thing when you're talking about like the cycles of life, we as humans like to think of time as linear. But it's really not. That's a whole other fucking story
to
talk about. Yeah.
It's a fabric.
Especially the earth that we are in right now, so much is cyclical, the moon and all of that, but also the year. You know, when we think about like the winter solstice, the Yule harvest, Yule in like autumn and spring and what those bring in. So it's like make yourself some like cinnamon cookies in the fall or hot chocolate in the winter, and like do those things in those moons and whatever to like kind of treat yourself. I think along with
Yeah.
the scents and smells, like taste.
Because, like, cooking is even a form of magic as well, you guys. Like, what did I do for, like, the harvest moon? I made, like, some cinnamon apples.
Yeah.
Because, like, that sounded good. That sounded cozy. That sounded like harvest season. And, like, cinnamon's really great for, like, I don't know. I use the cinnamon
magical.
broom all fall to, like, sweep energy out of my fucking house.
Yeah.
So,
When you feel like just those little things can make you feel so on track. Even the spring, you buy yourself a new plant, you repot a flower, like all of these things they seem like, I don't know, obvious. It's
Yeah.
probably obvious for a reason because it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you feel aligned. Anytime, like if I realize that a new or full moon is in a fire sign, I love to meditate with a candle and like listen to the candle's energy, look at the flame, is it growing or like making noise or whatever. Like the water, if you want to take a bath, it's probably best when it's in a water sign, you know, those type of things. If it's an air sign, I like to go meditate on my balcony so I can feel the wind on my face. Like these little things you can do, they seem so small, but they can just bring little pieces of joy into your life that are underappreciated.
and you're just being conscious, you're being present, you're becoming like you're honoring the cycles of the earth, and at the end of the day we're all just energy living in the universe. So it's really beautiful when you can connect to it in like a multitude of ways.
Yeah, we are just little energy balls on this
We're
little
energy
earth.
balls, and we're just trying to work with our big energy ball, all those other energies that to bring in some manifestations to like make the life that we want to live right now. I think people are awakening, and that feels really good.
Yeah, I really do too. I also love that you said that it helps you become present because as important as manifesting is and you want to bring on this perfect life, the way you're going to do that is to feel gratitude for your current circumstances. And the best way to feel gratitude is to truly be in the present moment. When you're cooking and oh, I'm so thankful for this food, this tastes so good. Maybe you're cooking with a loved one, friend, family, boyfriend, girlfriend. You can be thankful for them. Maybe you're meditating and you can't believe that you even have a balcony or a rooftop access or you have a tree
Okay,
that you
stop
love.
bragging, Brittany.
Whatever. But these are things that like, you know, we take for granted every day, even to have like a roof over your head.
I completely agree. Yeah.
So if you can do these things and it brings you into the present, that's only going to be stronger for the manifesting you want to happen, which is something I think is so hard to like live in the present and not worry about your past or future.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
I feel like it is the human challenge.
It's the human challenge. Especially we have screens, we have so many other things that are like, don't be alone with yourself.
Yeah. Here, you don't need to listen to those
Did
thoughts
you-
or those emotions bubbling inside.
You wanted to feel wind on your face? How about the stale air of your own apartment?
That you haven't cleaned in 6 years.
Yeah.
I also do love that the full moon and the new moon especially, always take me outside of technology. I'd make it a point. I wish I was better at meditating. It is a goal of mine. But I know I will always meditate on a full and a new moon. And I will put down my phone and take that bath or listen to affirmations or, you know, do those things that it's just
Ooh,
kind
I
of...
love a Hertz healing playlist.
Hertz
You guys
healing
throw
playlist.
that into your moon ritual.
I think, I don't know what the YouTube title is, but I think I just looked up affirmations in the present tense because you talked about like you can record your own meditation, but I'm lazy. So I listened to one that was like, I am beautiful, I am kind, I am whatever. There were a lot more depth than that. I think it was like 15, 20 minutes. And it was just really resonating because I had realized like I was breaking out really bad and just like nitpicking myself apart. So just even sitting there and listening to a guided meditation or something that's going to feel good and healing is really important. And the moon can be a reminder to do that self-help, which isn't always on the top of our minds.
It's not always on the top of our minds.
Mm-mm.
Well, should we start wrapping it up?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I said, Yasmin has a lot more information. So she talks about like the 8 main stages and phases of the moon. We could go a little bit more in depth. I know we just focus on new moon and full moon mostly this time. But she's an amazing resource to go check out. And in the honor of listening to Yasmin, we're going to pull from her Moonology Oracle deck.
It's so interesting. I'll try to send the links. But again, if you want to figure out what degree the moon is in, you can Google that or look at Astro Forecast on Instagram. I think Yasmin also on her Moonology website has different tools that you can figure out where the moon is in the sky and that type of stuff, which is really helpful.
And in her podcast, she suggests a lot of other books if you're interested in listening and figuring out those books. I can't remember the titles. I'm going to have to go back so I can know them.
So you can listen.
Uh-huh. Okay. Waxing moon. The energy is gaining momentum.
Wow. I love that. I feel like we talked a lot about what this new year is going to bring. And this is the start. This is you gathering your thoughts, gaining your energy to push forward into whatever your goals may be. You know, as much as we can think about what we want, action and planning is such a huge part of that.
And so just like getting clear on those goals is like one of those first steps, and even having that momentum to like push
forward
towards them. Yeah.
I think that's so true. Like a big umbrella, a manifestation people always say is like, oh, more money. What does that mean? Can we break that down more? How can we get specific about that? And what actions can you take to actually bring that forth in your life? You know, you can't just keep betting on the lottery, but you can, you know, learn a new skill, ask a friend who may be in a field that you're interested in getting in, doing these types of steps and like using your critical thinking to push forward, I think is such a great way to gain momentum.
The affirmation for this card is, I know I'm headed in the right direction.
Ooh.
This situation is full of potential. Ahem, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
More effort is required. Are you willing to give it? So ask yourself those questions here.
Oh, I love that. It's so hard. I feel like people always want to say like, oh, I want to do this thing, especially in my field of work. People always say like, oh, I want to be an actor. Oh, I want to be a professional dancer, whatever. But do you really? I think that is such a hard question. And this year, when I was writing down my 13 wishes for the new year, I really had to sit there and be like, well, do I really want that? Do I really care about that? Does this actually bring me joy? And have that hard conversation with yourself. You know, this is just the example because it's my life personally. If you want to be an actor and you realize you just want it for the influence it brings, maybe you should actually pursue a job in social media. You know, these type of questions, when you get down to the why of what you want, is so interesting. Like, again, when it comes to money, do you actually want money or do you want freedom? Mm-hmm. You know, these types of questions can really help you get to the root of what you want and bring them faster into your life.
I'm listening to a self-help book right now talking about 10xing whatever you're doing, and that people don't really necessarily realize how much effort certain things are gonna be to accomplish. So you do have to ask yourself, like, do I want to put in that effort?
Yeah.
Is that going to be something that's worth my energy that I'm going to see through? So asking yourself why you want to see it through is another good way to know if it's a goal that's resonating in your life.
Yeah. Or if it's something that maybe you saw someone else have and you're like, oh, that would be nice. But always check in with yourself. I think that's so important.
With that being said, we're really happy to kick off the new year with all of you guys that are here downloading, listening, checking our YouTube, clicking the links. Yeah.
It's super exciting for us. We are freaking nerds for this stuff, and we hope you guys are too. If you want to reach out to us, feel free to leave a comment on our YouTube page, which is The Fools Podcast. Email us at contactfoolspodcast@gmail.com, or you can always follow us on Instagram. They're linked in the description box of this podcast. We are always grinding and wanting to learn more and talk more and expand and figure out what you guys want to hear. So feel free.
Get loony, you guys. Become lunatics with the moon.
Yes. Release your inner child with being a moon child.
Oh, love it. Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.